What's good, you guys? R&R Motorsports back at you guys with another one. Today, this is a different style video that I'm making. As you guys can see, I'm here on Facebook Marketplace and I'm recording my PC. But today, we're gonna do 10 BMWs for less than 5 grand that you guys can get on Marketplace. I know a lot of you guys are younger on a tight budget. You might just need a daily to drive around and you don't want to mess up your nice car. So let's get into it and start the list. So the first car on our list is a F10 528. And how we're gonna do this is I'm gonna start the list from with the newest cars, and then move my way down to the oldest cars. But the first car on our list is a F10 528. This car has the N20 4-cylinder turbo BMW engine. It has 240 horsepower stock. Let's go through these pictures here. As you guys can see, it has this ugly ass M Sport grill. Definitely get rid of that if you guys get it. But as you guys can see, it's a non-M Sport, which is probably what you'd get for around under 5 grand. These cars aren't bad as dailies. They're not as slow as people would think. They respond well to downpipe and a tune, and you guys could tune it with boot mod directly from the App Store. But for a daily driver that looks like a new car, obviously this doesn't look like a $5,000 car to most normal people on the road. It's a great deal if you guys want a newer BMW with like the F Series chassis. The only issue that these cars do have is a timing chain failure, which is pretty prevalent in 20 engines. But aside from that, it's a pretty bulletproof daily. It's great on gas, and it has the looks of a $40,000 to $50,000 car. So number two on my list would be a E92 328, or if you guys can find a E92 335 for the same price, that's not in bad condition, I would go for it. The E92 that you guys see on my channel, the Nardo Gray one, I got that car for $5,500. So it was a really good deal for a 335. But as you guys can see here, this is a 2011 328. So it's an LCI. As you guys can see, it has the upgraded LCI headlights. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with ugly ass girls. Yeah, to each their own. As you guys can see, it has LCI taillights. The 328s are really reliable. I believe they have the N52 6-cylinder engine, non-turbo. It's a really reliable engine from BMW. You see a lot of these cars go over 200,000 miles easily with no problems. So this car is 230 horsepower stock. It's not bad. It's a little bit on the slower side, but since the car is relatively light, it does move. It's comparable if you're not a BMW person, I want to say, to like a G37, like G35. But it's bulletproof for the most part. N52s don't really have any major issues. And if you guys need a daily that you can get over 200,000 miles out of, as you guys can see, this has 180,000 miles on the body. This will get you a lot of life out of a car, and it's a lot of car for the money. So the next car on our list is a E90 335. For some reason, E90s, the sedans, are priced a lot cheaper than their E92 counterparts for whatever reason. As you guys can see, this is a LCI E90 with the N55 engine. You can pick one of these up for 5 grand all day. I believe they're 300 or 320 horsepower stock. You guys can also get a N54 powered E90 for the same price as well. But I went ahead and chose this N55 one just to show you guys how new of a year 335 you guys can get. E90s are getting dirt cheap. It might spike in price again later on, like how E36s and E46s are doing right now. But right now, the current value of them, it's a hell of a lot of car for not that much money. With a downpipe and a tune, as well as the rest of the full bolt-on, you could easily be making 400, 415 horsepower And then N55s, you guys can put a big boost single turbo kit on it, and it can easily handle 600 horsepower. Same with N54s. They can handle a little bit more power, but you also come with but they also come with reliability issues, especially those injectors on N54s. They're $3,400 from FCP Euro, whereas N55 injectors are $1,000 for L6. You give up a little bit of power, but you get better sound and more reliability with the N55. So yeah, this is number 3 on the. So number 4, we have the E65 series, and I would recommend going for a 535 because the V8 does have its fair share of problems. This has an N54 in it, and this chassis is only 200 pounds heavier than the E9X 3 series. But it's a lot more car for the money. You get a lot bigger car, luxury back seats. As you guys can see, this one looks pretty mint. Interior looks mint as well. I wouldn't go for a gray interior, but to each their own. This car is 300 horsepower stock, with a downpipe, full bolt-on, and tune. You guys could be pushing over 450 wheel easily in this luxury car. It was, I think MSRP on these were like 50 to 60 grand, and they don't look bad. A lot of people hate this design. I think it's called like the Bangle butt. It was the guy that designed it, Chris Bangle, I think his name was. But honestly, when you see these E60s in person, they do look clean. Especially if like these headlights were polished up and it had like the M Sport front bumper. You do a lot with these. Definitely a great daily, and you could push a little bit of power. You get a 535. So our 5th car on the list was pretty surprising to me, and I'm actually in the market for one of these right now. Might actually shoot this person a message after this, but this is the E70 X5, and in my opinion, it's the best looking X5 BMW has ever made. As you guys can see, it's a 2008 and it's a 3.0 with a M54 6-cylinder non-turbo engine. One of the most reliable BMW 6-cylinders ever made. So let's go through the pictures on this. As you guys can see, it's super mint. I love silver BMWs, as you guys can tell by my 6 Series. These are really good daily drivers. This is what I'm looking at E70 X5 for. They also look really nice, and they can tow as well. So if you guys are looking for a daily that you can tow around like a tow rig or one of your cars on the back, I know these have pretty good towing capacity. The E70 X5 diesel is a really popular car as well, but it will be hard to find one of those for 5 grand. If it is 5 grand, it'll probably have some issues. As you guys can see though, this one's like mint. Although it has 180,000 miles, the M54 engine is bulletproof. The only thing you probably have to worry about is the trans. This car is 260 horsepower from the factory, which isn't bad, even though it's probably above 4 ton, probably 4.5 ton SUV. The 6-cylinder might feel a little bit sluggish, but what you lose in power, your wallet will thank you. But yeah, this is my favorite generation X5, and now that you can get them under 5 grand, they're definitely a steal. So remember how I told you guys it's 10 cars that are under 5 grand? Well, we're actually gonna do 12 because this one just popped up on Marketplace. This is a 128i convertible. As you guys can see, it's super clean. It's like 220 or 230 horsepower, but this car is about 300 or 400 pounds lighter than a 3 Series BMW. So what you guys get in return is you get a lighter handling 3 Series. There's no interior pictures here, but it has a similar interior to the 3 Series, but it's a lighter form factor car. A definitely better handling than the 3 Series. You could probably also find a 128i coupe for under 5 grand. It just depends on like your preference, convertible or you want a coupe. But this has the N52 engine as well, the same that you'll find in an E90 328. Bulletproof for the most part. It should get you over 200,000 miles with no major issues. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. So if you guys want a 6 Series like me, but you're on a budget, You guys can go for the E63 645 Ci. This car does have a 4.8 liter V8. They sound really good. Makes 360 horsepower stock. As you guys can see, this one's a little clapped, but they are a lot of car for the money. Since it's a 6 Series BMW, they have every single option the BMW offered at the time. So it'll probably have more features than your new than like a 2023 like Civic that's a base model. But if you guys want a V8, a nice Grand Touring coupe, I would definitely go for a 645. You just gotta be careful. It's a BMW V8, so it has the valve stem seal issue with that engine. But once you address all the issues, you guys have a nice Grand Tour. And I know this style. Some people love it, some people hate it. But if you guys like this style, this is a lot of car for the money. So next on the list, we have BMW Z4. As you guys know on my channel, I recently picked one of these up for this exact price of 3,200. But mine was not blue, mine was white, and it has red seats. As you guys can see, this one has a beige interior. But Z4s, depending on where you live, I live in South Florida, so Z4s are definitely cheaper near me. But you guys are up north, you guys might not be able to find as you guys can image on it. But you expect for the price, 3 grand is really good. But if you guys are up north, you might not be able to find a Z4 like this for this price. But since I'm in South Florida, Florida in general has a lot of convertibles in the market, so you can find convertibles for fairly cheap. I picked up my Z4 for 3,200, except it was a manual and it was white with red seats, which I think is a better spec than this. But as you guys can see, it's a lot of car for the money. You guys get a convertible. You get a 2.5. It's 184 horsepower. I know that sounds slow, but the Z4 only weighs like I think 3,000 pounds or maybe a little less than 3,000 pounds. So it's like pretty much like a go-kart. You don't really need the power. It's more for like it's more of like a car that you get to just cruise around in. You're not trying to like most people that get Z4s, they don't really build them for speed. But if you want to build a Z4 for speed, as you guys could see, the front end of this car is the hood is huge. So if you guys want to put like a single turbo on it, it would definitely fit. The car also does have a M54 engine, but not a 3.5, so it does make a little bit less power. Let's move on to the next car. So next on the list is the E53 X5. This is a 4.4 V8 model. It has 315 horsepower. They also make this car with a 3.0 M54 that makes, I believe, like 220 or 230 horsepower. But these cars have been gaining popularity in the past couple of years because a lot of people will build them as overlander off-road rigs. I believe it is either ECS or FCP Euro. I think it's ECS tuning though. They built a Overland X5. They lifted it. They put mud tires on it. It's actually a pretty sick looking car. I know there's a bunch of other smaller YouTubers that do it, but that's the only name that came to my head right now. As you guys can see, it looks like a E46. The tail lights, it literally looks like an E, but bigger. These cars are known have a lot of issues. I know the door handle, look, as you guys can see, door handle is missing right here. The door handles are like very fragile on this car. They do have a lot of issues with like the window motor, like small things, you know, nothing that would stop you from driving it, except the V8s. I know they have the valve stem seal issue. But if you get a 3.0 X5 E53, you will lose a bit of power, but what you lose in power, like I said before, for the E70, you gain in reliability. If E70 X5s weren't as cheap as they are, I would definitely go for E53 because it's a lot of car for the money. But as you guys can see, this is 4,200, and the E70 that I showed you guys before was, I believe, what was it, 5 grand? I think. Let's see. Yeah, it was 5 grand. So if it was me personally, I would spend the $800 and get the E70. But I think these are a little bit more capable as like off-roaders. But yeah, other than that, you guys can get a good SUV for less than 5 grand. Has really good looks, and the V8 sound really, really good. So yeah, this is an option for you guys. Let's move on to the next one. The next car on our list is E46 BMW. This is a 323 Ci, but I would recommend going for a 330 Ci. But any E46 that ends with a Ci is going to be a good E46 because Ci, if you guys didn't know, was back in the day in the early 2000s was pretty much BMW's M Sport. It was pretty much Ci. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but I know it's pretty much like the M Sport BMWs back in the day. As you guys can see, this is really, really clean. It's on some coils. Um, and it's a manual with the M Sport, as you guys can see. These are great drivers' cars. It was pretty much before BMW went with computers for everything. I know the E90, even those have a lot of technology in them. This is pretty much like your bare bones BMW. They're a lot easier to maintain than the newer cars that I've showed you guys, and cheaper. And a lot of this stuff you guys can DIY yourselves. It's a great drift car if you guys are looking for a drift car. Um, you could also daily it, but it's kind of hard to find a clean E46. Most of them have been clapped to shit. But if you guys can find a good one, I'd definitely go for it. They're a hell of a driver's car, and that's why the E46 M are above 20K for a nice one. Yeah, let's get into the last two. So the next car on our list is E38. I believe this is a 740. I'm not sure. We'll get through it in the pictures, but this is like a classic German luxury car. Um, I really like the way this car looks. It looks really clean, body lines. Let me see if I can find a better picture for you. So yeah, this is a 740. Um, as you guys can see, it's super clean. The wheels that you guys can see right here, these are called M parallel wheels. The wheels alone on this car probably go for like 1500, 2 grand. That's like half the price of the car right there. But these are really clean if you guys want like some lower. These look really good slammed. I'll put some clips for you guys now. But yeah, it's the same thing, like 300 horsepower from the factory, V8 NA, 4.5 liter, 4.4 liters. As you guys can see, the interior kind of looks like the E39, but bigger. You guys can see it has an E39 steering wheel, E39 similar to the 7 Series. But yeah, it's pretty much E39 with a bigger back seat. It's the $100,000 BMW flagship car of the day. So, as you're getting a $100,000 car for 3.5% of MSRP. Let's move on to the next one. So the last car on our list is the E36 BMW. As you guys know, these cars have been hiking up in value in the past couple of months. This was also a BMW before they introduced technology, even more so than the E46. Um, these cars are really, really cheap to work on. Parts are dirt cheap. You can get them at like AutoZone or Advanced for most of the stuff that you guys need. There's not really much computers for you to deal with. I believe the earlier models of these cars didn't even have an OBD2 port. As you guys can see, this one's super clean. It's a 323i. But the E36 M3 and like the E36 328, there's not that many differences between them. No, the E36 M3 is a pretty underpowered car. The European version was the one to get. It's the same engine, but I think it has like 50 more horsepower or something like that. But as you guys can see, this one is super, super mint for 4,500. I know a lot of people don't like the convertible, but if you guys can manage a convertible, look at this thing. The interior looks like it's barely been sat on. M Sport steering wheel, 5-speed manual, a clean Carfax, whatever, no accidents. Thing looks mint. I don't even see a check engine light on it. But yeah, E36 is definitely a good like driver's car, drift car, even a stance car or whatever. You can do a lot with E36s. I would recommend making it into a drift car. It's a really easy chassis to learn on. Um, and they take the beating well. But yeah, you guys have a lot of options here for cars that you can get under 5 grand. As you guys, you have cars as new as 2011, maybe even newer. If you guys can find a F30 328i for under 5 grand. Um, but yeah, as you guys can see, we have F series BMWs all the way to E36 and everything. So it doesn't matter what your budget is. You guys can definitely get a nice BMW for under 5 grand. Um, Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.